My name is Susan, and I am 56 years old. I have 2 children, a son and a daughter, who are now in their late 20s. For 30 years, I have been a mother. And for 30 years, I have been a student in the most demanding, chaotic, and beautiful school in the world, the School of Motherhood. There is no graduation, there is no diploma. There is only a lifetime of learning, of trying, of failing, and of trying again. And now, at 56, with the benefit of hindsight, I have been looking back at my own report card, and what I have found is a mix of surprising successes and painful failures. I have found that some of the things I thought were so important were not, and some of the things I barely even noticed were everything. So today, I want to share with you my own, very personal, and completely unscientific report card. I want to share with you the 5 things I think I did right as a mother, and the 3 things I got painfully, devastatingly wrong. Let's start with the good news. The things I did right. And the first one is this. I apologized. A lot. I was not a perfect mother. I was an impatient mother. I was a tired mother. I was a stressed mother. I yelled. I made mistakes. I said things I didn't mean. But I always apologized. I would go to my children after I had calmed down, and I would look them in the eye, and I would say, I am so sorry. I was wrong. I was feeling frustrated, and I took it out on you. That was not fair. I love you. And in doing so, I taught them a few things. I taught them that adults make mistakes. I taught them that it is okay to be imperfect. I taught them that a real apology is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. And I taught them that our relationship was more important than my pride. And that, I think, was one of the best things I ever did. The second thing I did right was this. I let them be bored. In a world that is obsessed with productivity, with enrichment, with constant stimulation, I gave my children the gift of boredom. I did not fill every moment of their lives with classes and activities and play dates. I let them have long, unstructured afternoons with nothing to do, and in that boredom, they found their creativity. They built forts, they wrote stories, they invented games, they learned how to entertain themselves, how to be resourceful, how to be alone without being lonely. They learned how to be the architects of their own inner worlds. And that, I believe, is a skill that has served them well in their adult lives. The third thing I did right was this. I prioritized our family dinners. No matter how busy we were, no matter how many activities we had, we ate dinner together, as a family, almost every single night. It was not always a gourmet meal. Sometimes it was just pizza or mac and cheese, but it was a sacred time. It was a time to connect, to talk, to laugh, to argue, to be a family. It was a time to check in with each other, to share the highs and lows of our day, to feel like we were a part of something bigger than ourselves. And those dinners, those simple, chaotic, and often messy dinners, they were the glue that held us together. The fourth thing I did right was this. I loved their father. I loved him, and I showed it. I showed it in the way I looked at him, in the way I talked to him, in the way I touched him. I showed it in the way we laughed together, in the way we supported each other, in the way we were a team. And in doing so, I gave my children a gift that was more valuable than any toy, or any vacation, or any lesson. I gave them the gift of a stable, loving, and respectful home. I gave them a model of what a healthy relationship looks like. I gave them the security of knowing that their world was safe, that their foundation was strong, that their parents were in this together. And that, I believe, is one of the greatest gifts you can give a child. And the fifth thing I did right was this. I let them go. This was the hardest one, but it was also the most important. When it was time for them to leave for college, to move to a new city, to start their own lives, I did not cling. I did not guilt. I did not make them feel responsible for my happiness. I hugged them tight. I told them I loved them, and I let them fly. I trusted that I had given them the roots to grow and the wings to soar. I trusted that they were ready, and I trusted that I would be okay. And in letting them go, I gave them the freedom to become who they were always meant to be. And I gave myself the freedom to become who I was always meant to be, outside of my role as their mother. So those are the 5 things I think I did right. I apologized, I let them be bored, I prioritized our family dinners, I loved their father, and I let them go. And now, for the hard part, the 3 things I got wrong. And these are the things that still keep me up at night. These are the things that I would go back and change in a heartbeat if I could. The first thing I got wrong was this. I worried too much. I was a professional worrier. I worried about their health, their safety, their grades, their friends, their future. I worried about everything. And my worry was a heavy blanket that I wrapped around them, a blanket that I thought was protecting them, but was actually suffocating them. My worry sent them a clear and constant message. The world is a dangerous place, and you are not equipped to handle it. My worry stole their joy. It stole their spontaneity. It stole their sense of adventure. And it taught them to be anxious, to be fearful, to see the world through a lens of what if, instead of a lens of what is. And that is a burden that I wish with all my heart that I had not placed on their shoulders. The second thing I got wrong was this. I tried to be their friend. I was so afraid of being the strict, authoritarian mother that my own mother was, that I went too far in the other direction. I wanted to be the cool mom, the mom who they could talk to about anything, the mom who was their buddy, their confidant, their pal. But in my desperate attempt to be their friend, I abdicated my role as their parent. I failed to set clear boundaries. I failed to enforce consistent consequences. I failed to be the calm, steady, and unwavering authority figure that they needed me to be. And as a result, they felt insecure. They felt unmoored. They felt like they were in charge, and that is a terrifying feeling for a child. They didn't need another friend, they needed a mother. And I, in my misguided attempt to be liked, failed to be one. And the third thing I got wrong, and this is the one that hurts the most, is this. I didn't see them. I saw their achievements. I saw their grades. I saw their successes. I saw their potential. But I didn't always see them. The real them. The messy and complicated and sometimes difficult them. I was so focused on who I wanted them to be, on who I thought they should be, that I often missed who they actually were. I missed the quiet sadness in my daughter's eyes. I missed the creative spark in my son's heart. I missed the 1,001 small and quiet and beautiful things that made them who they were. I was so busy looking at the report card that I forgot to look at the student. I was so busy looking at the masterpiece that I forgot to look at the artist. And that is a regret that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. So there it is, my report card. 5 things I did right, 3 things I got wrong. A mix of pride and regret, of joy and sorrow. And what I have learned in this long and messy and beautiful journey of motherhood is this. There is no perfect score. There is no final grade. There is only the ongoing and often humbling process of learning, of growing, of trying to do a little better today than you did yesterday. And there is only the deep and abiding and completely unconditional love that you have for your children. A love that is big enough to hold both your successes and your failures. A love that is strong enough to weather both your pride and your regret. A love that is, in the end, the only thing that truly matters. Motherhood is not a performance. It is a relationship. It is a dance. It is a conversation. And it is a journey that is meant to be messy and imperfect and full of mistakes. Because it is in the mistakes, in the apologies, in the moments of rupture and repair, that the real connection is forged. It is in the moments when you are not the perfect mother, but the real mother, the human mother, the mother who is trying her best, that your children learn the most important lesson of all, that they are loved, not for their perfection, but for their humanity. That they are loved, not in spite of their imperfections, but because of them. And that is a lesson that will serve them well for the rest of their lives. I am 56 years old, and I am still a student in the School of Motherhood. I am still learning. I am still growing. I am still making mistakes. But I am also finally learning to be a little kinder to myself. I am learning to forgive myself for the things I got wrong. And I am learning to celebrate the things I got right. And I am learning to embrace the beautiful, messy, and completely imperfect journey of it all. Because that, I have come to realize, is where the real magic lies. Not in the destination of perfection, but in the journey of love. The realization that I had gotten some things right and some things wrong was not a single dramatic event. It was a slow, gradual dawning, a series of small moments that over time painted a larger picture. It was my daughter in her 20s, thanking me for always apologizing and telling me that it had taught her how to be a more forgiving person. It was my son in his 20s, telling me that he had never been afraid to try new things, because he had never been afraid to be bored. It was watching them, as adults, navigate the world with a confidence, a resilience, and a kindness that I could not take credit for, but that I could, with a quiet pride, know that I had helped to nurture. And the realization of my failures was a slow dawning too. It was in the way my daughter would call me, in a panic, over every small decision, and I would see with a painful clarity my own anxiety reflected back at me. It was in the way my son would struggle to set boundaries with his friends, and I would see, with a pang of regret, my own failure to be a parent instead of a friend. It was in the moments when they would share a part of themselves with me, a part that I had never seen before, and I would feel a deep and abiding sorrow for all the years that I had been looking but not seeing. But the most powerful moments of learning came not from my own reflections, but from their reflections. From the conversations we started to have as adults about their childhood. Conversations that were sometimes painful, sometimes funny, and always, always illuminating. It was in these conversations that I learned that my worry had not felt like love to them. It had felt like a lack of faith. It was in these conversations that I learned that my friendship had not felt like closeness to them. It had felt like a lack of leadership. It was in these conversations that I learned that my focus on their achievements had not felt like support to them. It had felt like a conditional love. And it was in these conversations that I learned the most important lesson of all, that it is never too late to change. It is never too late to apologize. It is never too late to learn. It is never too late to become the mother that your children need you to be. Not the perfect mother, not the all-knowing mother, but the mother who is willing to listen, the mother who is willing to learn, the mother who is willing to grow, the mother who is willing to say, I was wrong, I am sorry, and I am trying to do better. And so, I am trying to do better. I am trying to be a mother who worries less and trusts more. I am trying to be a mother who is a parent first and a friend second. I am trying to be a mother who sees her children in all their messy and complicated and beautiful humanity. I am trying to be a mother who is not afraid to be imperfect. And in that trying, in that ongoing and often humbling process of learning and growing and changing, I am finding a new kind of joy. A joy that is not dependent on perfection or on performance or on the approval of others. A joy that is rooted in the deep and abiding and completely unconditional love that I have for my children. A love that is big enough to hold both my successes and my failures. A love that is, in the end, the only thing that truly matters. I am 56 years old, and I am a work in progress, and so is my motherhood. And that, I have come to realize, is the whole point. The goal is not to arrive at some mythical destination of parental perfection. The goal is to stay on the journey. The goal is to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep trying. The goal is to keep showing up with an open heart and a willingness to be wrong. The goal is to keep loving with a love that is big enough to hold it all. The successes, the failures, the pride, the regret, the joy, the sorrow. All of it, because all of it is a part of the beautiful, messy, and completely sacred journey of being a mother.